Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the previous episode, we went to investigate at the prison to meet our client, and we investigate here. Well, not really. We talked to the chief. Was he chief? I have no idea. A great detective. That's all I know. Let's see. Oi, what are you foreigners doing here? We just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with the mustache fellow from Japan, are ya? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have ya? Get out of here before I give you a hiding. Oh, go on.
He shooed us away like rats.
Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think.
What a disappointing experience.
Oh, we already talked to that guy. Or experienced whatever I need to do. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons.
I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern.
Oh no, I'm getting caught up again. Twice enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on.
Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's the wide-eyed look of your panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all.
Snowman. Alright. Next up, the Shome Suite. Apparently why he gave out his address, I have no idea.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
My question is, why did he give out his address? Latent agencies? So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san?
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose they must been, yes. I've never read the story, so it's hard to quite as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So if you don't mind...
Please don't touch the chemicals.
I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me.
Ha ha ha. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend is at home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? You!
Hello, is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes?
Hello? Wait, aren't you...
Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
I'm sure it's the same girl. Flashback time! Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to the very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case.
The King of Bavaria?
King of Wilhelm Gottsched Sigismund.
I was doing so good. Wilhelm Gottsched Sigismund von Ormstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures with Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. It's you.
I knew it. Susato-san recognized her too. Flashback! So whatever happened to Lestrade? I really don't want to talk during a flashback, so... Come on now! Speed it up! Speed it up! It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber.
I never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London.
Oh, yes, it was challenging.
Well, let's try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you?
Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh my, what a fragment yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticket trial tomorrow. Oh, and you defend a Japanese man? I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, Shirley?
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on the errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. Not Wilson! No! I live here together with Hurley.
Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely! Susie and Runo. Got it! Susie?
Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eyes. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
Converse! It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey?
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. No!
Like this? Thinking back now, you let Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Jeannie? Yeah, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to the child-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting in the self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous!
Anyway, I brought Jeannie back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock Sholmes. We live together.
I had no idea the great detective has such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodging of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no.
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what that story is there. Okay, we understood the father, but the mother.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, go ahead, Susie. I am very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes and... Oh, you have a copy in Rand's magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Hurley is always solving amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author. Yes, I'll let you on the secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake, but the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course, I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in the Rants magazine? All written by me, yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
This Hassan getting more and more worked up, and the guy's dead.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part?
He's dead.
That's all true. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman.
He's dead.
Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with 10-year-old girl in tow?
So the time that your roommate was MIA for his worldwide tour, you were home alone at 9, so to speak, or 10.
I suppose it does, yes?
Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. We have yet to mention the father. Before.
Yes, what's on your mind, Runo? Don't tell me. Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer? We just arrived in London, I mean.
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin.
Deduction?
Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular! First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
Observe a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh,
So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, You accepted a case against a particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you were visiting the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today? Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that a trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been.
Mr. Natsume. Now, Runo has the fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both came from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together, and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case.
She's good. She's actually good.
There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his note with a knife, you know. He is silly. That over there. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions.
Why did I stumble?
Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You even managed to start something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery.
Oh well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
And that took us a while to get there. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying.
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to crime scene.
Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, a woman was stabbed on the quiet street of somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking stooped man. Mr. Natsume beyond any doubt.
Saseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all, but it seems there were witnesses after all.
Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. There was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police. And what did they find? A short, shifty-looking stooped man shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark this time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of working of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Saseki-san. Thank you for answering so many questions, Iris. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Well, I expect Hurley's still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Nuts May. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Ah, goody, in that case... Give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece? A postcard, it seems?
A postcard!
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band, and I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris curious though, and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Wow, we're gonna end it off right here. I was ready to end it up anyways, but okay. More investigation to ya. Like, comment, subscribe. Chronicles XCB, and I'm signing out.